2015 has already been a hell of a year for music. I mean, it really has. Just consider some of the albums that we've reviewed on this channel already, and then consider those that we haven't, the ones that have been missed. It's because it's been a big year. Lots of releases by a ton of bands. 2015 has been stacked. And it's getting even more stacked with Love, Fear, and the Time Machine by Riverside, which is what we need to talk about today. Now, Riverside is a progressive rock band that's based out of Poland. We've talked about them before on this channel, I think once or twice, so this shouldn't be new to too many of you, unless of course you're new to the channel. These guys have a great sound that combine a lot of the efforts that could be heard from bands such as Pink Floyd, Dream Theater, Kansas. Some people would even say maybe even Tool, but I don't know about all that. I think that's a little crazy. These guys at least produce an album every couple of years. And yeah, that's a Tool jab, even though I'm a fan. But with this album, there was definitely a lot of high expectations, considering the last two have been monumental releases in their years, and has just been exposing the fact that Riverside had been honing their sound and making themselves better and better as time has progressed. So we got to hear Discard Your Fear about a couple of months ago, and it was a nice track. It had a great balance to it and was very, very beautiful, but some people, I think, complained of it being a bit basic, and that kind of scared them a little bit, that perhaps Riverside had abandoned some of that root and structure. Well, let me just say before we get out of the gate, if that was your principal concern of whether or not to pick up the album, pick it up, because it's definitely a very complex beast. This is an album that has bookends to it, which I really like. I like whenever albums do this, especially in progressive music. We have Lost, Why Should I Be Frightened by a Hat? And Found, the unexpected flaw of searching, rather, as the bookends of this disc. And they have a similar makeup. They are essentially a pair of songs that are very similar. They're sister songs, and they kind of create that circular image of an album, which is beautiful. It's one that, whenever the body of the album kind of works to its benefits, works fantastically. And spoiler alert, it works fantastically here. Principally because it has just a strong idea to it, a strong structure as far as the songwriting is concerned. Both are very solidly put together, and the different choruses or the different crescendo moments on these tracks always hit you in a really, really nice way. And believe me, that whole hitting you idea, it's not something that's going to be reserved to just these two tracks. Be prepared to take a ride, and you've basically been given a ticket to the feels train that perhaps you didn't want. The first half of this album I would describe as the heavier edge, with songs such as Under the Pillow, Addicted, or should I say #Addicted, I don't want to be incorrect with that, and Caterpillar and the Barbed Wire. This is a little bit more geared toward the progressive rock insanity, and it really even goes into Saturate Me as well. This is more of the prog rock side that even borders on the metal side, that really gives you a lot more of those feelings towards groups such as Kansas, either that or Dream Theater, and really focuses heavily on that side, and is able to counterbalance that with some softer moments that will just kind of give you a break in the action before going back into some complex rhythms. And everything is guided very nicely by the vocals on this album. They are ones that don't need to be necessarily very stationary in order for them to move you. It's instead one that is all over the place in some regards, but is not an extreme setting. It's not something that needs to go from in order to really get you captivated. Instead, the voice just, it just sort of echoes so very nicely along with the music, and it's a beautiful, beautiful mix, and the talent is there. The talent level is absurd. #Addicted is, it reminded me a lot of Shallow and Daft off of Isles' release from last year, 4:45 a.m., in the way in which it's a very big commentary about how we have become completely and totally enslaved and obsessed by the technology that now essentially runs our lives, whereas Shallow and Daft was about, you know, starlet worship or star worship. It's something that could be easily aligned and compared, considering both seem to come hand in hand with some of these people. The second half of this album is the softer moments of the disc. Float really sort of brings that together and introduces that idea. Discard Your Fear has a little bit more of a positive rock feel to it, I understand. But even still, comparative to the first 5 songs on this disc, This one has a little bit of a toned down quality. And then we get to the 8-minute long Toward the Blue Horizon, and then moving into the 6-minute Time Travelers. And this is where the feels train really starts to throw on the accelerator. Time Travelers is a song that feels as though it has heavy influence from Steven Wilson. And whenever you consider what Steven Wilson did this year with Hand Cannot Erase, and the fact that this song reminds me a lot of listening to Happy Returns, which is one of my favorite cuts off of that album, whenever you consider all of that, this is a song that you can't miss. This is one that you absolutely cannot miss. This is one that if you are doing the right or wrong thing, all depending on your opinion on it, could easily, basically Hadouken you square it in your feelings. It really has that potential, especially if you're a fan that has a little bit more age behind you as opposed to somebody who's listening to this as an 18-year-old kid. Although it may still hit you as well, considering you are starting to get to a point in life where you're remembering things from 4 to 5 to 6 years ago, and perhaps those memories have a little bit more sweetness to them, a little bit more saccharine as opposed to what you're experiencing now. It's certainly one where the concept of going back to a time where things seemed a lot better and simpler is a desire that we've all had, and this song really hits you right in that idea. It says, the one such line, and I'm paraphrasing, let's time travel back to 30 years ago where we have a chance. It's a crazy, crazy little idea. I know that the line was probably just spoke wrong, but you know that is, and I mean, did you listen to the album? That's good. I'm glad that you did. But it also is essentially what the message is. And it's kind of ironic considering, and this is unrelated to the album, considering that I have been of the opinion now that in the 30 years or so that people of my generation have been alive, life has essentially gone from pretty easy to figure out to pretty fucking impossible. Unless, of course, you're rich. So where do we go whenever it comes to this album? What can be said? What can be really aligned about Love, Fear, and the Time Machine? This is a disc that really purveys those options and really showcases all of the things that make progressive rock a fantastic genre of music to listen to. Subgenre, should I say, ideally, but they just got charts, so fuck you. But at any rate, this is a disc that just really culminates and showcases all of Riverside's growing number of traits and skills, and is a great introduction to the band for fans that have perhaps not heard of them until this moment. The album also reminds me, curiously enough, of Still by Wolverine, as well as, oh gosh, I'm going to struggle remembering Materia by November, which were, consequently enough, I think released about 10 years ago. I think it was either 2005 or 2006. They were two huge, huge prog albums that really went underneath the radar, but both were just phenomenal, phenomenal products. And Riverside has basically, in their own style and in their own way, captivated the same way as those two albums did, considering the heavy hitters that they were able to dethrone in bands such as Communic. So what do we have to say about this? And it's simple. December sucks. Not only because it's cold, but in December we do an album of the year list, and it's already a extremely difficult decision. But Riverside just made it all the more difficult whenever it comes to the top 10. 95 out of 100. This is a terrific album. This is one that blends that idea of applying to somebody's emotional status while also providing fantastic and very mentally smart music in the process. And the result is an album that is very difficult to stop listening to. I actually had to tear myself away from this one just so I actually did this review for all of you in a timely fashion. And I'm going to be going back to it immediately after I hit the, end record button. Or as was said in that Bat Metal video, oh no, still wrecking, You haven't seen that, you should check it out. It's pretty freaking hysterical. What did you guys think about this disc? I want to know. Let me know in the comments below. What do you think of Riverside? These guys are tremendous. Are they a band that's still on the rise in your eyes, or are they a band that has arrived and now are trailblazing for the next generation? Let me know in the comments below. I'm Cover Killer Nation. What a week. It's been another great week. It's been another great week for heavy metal. Man, this makes my job kind of easy until December. Then it makes my job fucking impossible. We'll take on the challenge, though. At least we're not talking about one piece of crap after another. Like that Five Finger Death Punch album.